Thank you, Andy Brown. This is the Get You Home Show with Andy B on Pure 24/7 Radio. Now, we are every Thursday. I chat with all sorts of people through the week. Thursdays, my regular guest is Laure Jackson. Hello, Anne.
Hello, it's good to be here.
And I just shared something with you which I hadn't twigged. This is our 99th conversation about sensory health.
That was so exciting. It's just, whoa, we're on the cusp of 100 and think that's worth celebrating in our own little ways. I'm sure we'll do.
I think so. I'll buy some party poppers and pop them next week or something. But no, 100, it'll be our 100th chat next week.
That's lovely. That's really nice.
Awesome. Not once have I ever run out of things to ask you or talk to you about. It's a skill or a curse, depending on who you want to talk to. But I'm always free to, I have thoughts and ideas. And I got one for today. So, So we talk about sensory health. We talk about, because you're an occupational therapist. In fact, let's just go there. Let's not go into the sensory health bit yet. Let's go into occupational health for folk around the world, because
occupational therapy, by the way.
What did I just say?
Occupational health.
Oh, do you know what? Anyway, I was trying to think probation officers are different in the UK, US. So what does an occupational health officer know? Well, no. What do you do? The OT part.
Yeah, it's bad enough to actually describe what it is. Never mind, call it the right name. Call it the right thing in the first place. Yeah, so occupational therapy. We help people do the job of living, whatever that means for anybody. So that can get disrupted through sickness, through disability, through short-term things that happen in life, through the aging process, through a diagnosis. There are so many reasons that kind of disrupt what happens in people's lives. And so we are there to just to come alongside people and help them get back to functioning, help them get back to doing what they want to do, or just start. Especially because I've spent a lot of time in pediatrics. So there it's just like, how can we encourage these children to get on and live the life that they want to do? But then at the other end of the spectrum, it's just as much for our older people how can we keep them as independent as possible? Because that's one of the core things when you're older. You're no longer in employment, you don't have that job, but you do want to stay as fit and as healthy and as independent as you can be until you absolutely need help. So I love the fact that we work across all ages and across all spectrums of ability, disability. Doesn't matter. We're there for people to help them do that.
Occupational health officer specialist. There you go. Therapist.
Oh.
We can make it more and more complicated. I can do that in a heartbeat. That's not a problem. So anyway, occupational therapy. And then sensory health is a component. We've talked about that quite a lot. We can come back to that another time. And so I wanted to get into a topic for today, because as I was celebrating in my own little mind before you came on, thinking, this is our 99th chat. Next week is 100. That's kind of something special. And I think one of the problems in the world today, we are not very good at celebrating the wins, celebrating the milestones. For example, today, Joe and I, 31 years ago, this day became boyfriend and girlfriend, which sounds weird now. I've been married for nearly 30 years, but that's 31 years ago. So we want to mark that in a really simple way. Later this year, we're going to mark 30 years of being married, because it's important. It's something we lack in the Western world that the Jewish communities are so much better at, is marking special days, which then brings me to what I wanted to talk about today. How do we do better marking our sensory healthy wins, our sensory healthy I suppose advancements, or when we get better, or we've made some improvement? How do we go best about actually celebrating those? And I suppose the first question, should we celebrate the wins of our sensory health?
That's really interesting, because when I'm in therapy, I don't do reward systems, because being sensory healthy gives it is its own reward, because you feel so good because of it. So it's like, so some people were saying, if you need your family to go to the supermarket and you want them to help with the shopping, then you go for a treat afterwards, because that's their reward for having done the whole shopping thing. because some people might struggle with the shopping, so it's to help them hold it together so they can get a nice thing at the end of it. And my perspective from a sensory health practitioner is actually, well, let's just set them up so that their systems are well able to cope with the sights and the smells and the bumping and all the rest of it that comes with going to the supermarket. And then you actually don't need a reward at the end of it. You can just go home and enjoy yourself and go and do something else that you want to do. So I'm very much about setting the system up first so that you can enjoy whatever life has. I'm not against rewards. I would probably do both personally because that's my personality. I would set someone's system up well, and then I'd actually go and enjoy, have a coffee or get yourself an ice cream or whatever you want, at the end of it, because I just think that's lovely. So yeah, that's a really interesting question, because in my professional perspective, I would be saying we don't need a reward, because actually when you're in sensory health, you feel good, you're calm, you're coordinated, you're functioning in top peak performance, and so you don't need anything. But there is that part of me that just loves, and I think it is really important to celebrate, and it's nice to pause, to step back and just reflect and say, that was good. We did something well. I did something well. That feels good. That worked out. And I think we all can do with encouragement. The Bible always talks about, David encouraged himself. It's sometimes we can't, rely on other people to see what we do, how we do, or even get the recognition. Or if we're feeling down, we need to learn how to encourage ourselves. No, but I think the same principle applies for, absolutely. Celebrate, as our heritage tells us. Those feasts and those festivals are crucial to keep us in a good frame of mind. And that I think it's a great thing to be able to celebrate in whatever fashion works for you.
I know I've shared this particular video that I saw probably 18 months ago or something. I can say that now with 99 behind us because we've done quite a lot of chat. But it was a guy, I can't remember the reason why he struggled. So forgive me for that. But all he wanted to do was to be able to take a glass of water from a table while sitting down, put it up to his mouth and drink it. And he couldn't. And I can't remember why, which is really annoying. But I think there was obviously issues with his nerves. I think that maybe has some brain damage. There's lots of reasons why he might struggle. So he took a video every single day of him drinking a glass of water until he could actually pick it up, put it to his lips, take some water in, close his mouth, swallow, and actually have had some water. At the start, it probably did look a bit like a comedy exercise, and people were making fun of him, thinking he was trying to be funny because it went all over his face. He'd lose the glass, he'd lose the water, but that was part of his journey, and he wasn't trying to be funny. And some of those people probably shouldn't have been laughing at him because he was trying to share a journey of, I don't know, it was not days, it was many months. I've seen a similar one of a lady who wanted to walk again. I think she'd had some surgery and they'd had some damage. It wasn't anybody's fault. It happens. But then she was trying to learn to walk, and she was having to work through all the frustration of, I used to be able to walk. Now I need two people, rails, sticks, and all sorts of supports. And the journey every day of her trying to take a couple of steps, and then eventually you scroll on to the end of that time and she's walking without sticks, without aids, without bars. Yes, there were people nearby just in case, but she made an improvement. And I think this is something that we are, to be honest, rubbish at in the West. I think we're really rubbish at celebrating the wins along the way. And I think part of that is we're too busy kind of celebrating mediocrity. So we're not actually celebrating amazing things. But an amazing thing is taking that glass up in your mouth and drinking it when you couldn't. That is a massive, amazing thing to celebrate.
It is. And that's within my organization with what I do. It's absolutely, we celebrate those small wins. And for anybody else who doesn't have sensory processing issues, you probably wouldn't think twice about what these families are going through, what these individuals in the workplace are going through. And that's what we do, on the coaching times when we come together. And it's just like whoever's on the call at the time, we're all behind whoever, and we're all celebrating those at that time, no matter how small, no matter how small anything is, whether it be that the meltdown lasted, 5-10 minutes less than what it normally did, because they're starting to learn how to regulate their child, or a functional skill that they're finally able to do that they couldn't do, that like that chappie with lifting the glass up and being able to take his own drink. Those are really, really special things and very, very important that somebody you're able to celebrate it with somebody, because it just boosts us on those small wins. Small wins are so powerful in when the journey is long, especially when you've got sensory processing issues, any other form of disability or difficulty. It's a long-term issue. It's a long-term process. So to be able to sustain and keep motivated to keep going forwards, we need those small wins. We need those to celebrate the small wins and recognize them, yeah, for what they are.
There's a brilliant bit in the film Incredibles, and there's a moment where the children of the family in the Mr. and Mrs. Incredible are realizing that they are definitely unique. They have these superpowers in this cartoon world. And at one point, there's this wonderful, wonderful interaction between the son, whose particular power is being able to run really, really fast, and so fast no one knows he's even missing. And then there's the mum, who's also a superhero, who's trying to say, well, but you've got to think about the other children. Don't run so fast. You want to be part of it. And there's this brilliant bit of, so what you're saying is that everybody's special. Yes, that's right. So since everyone's special, none of us are. And there's a lovely little pause in the film because this kid's nailed it. If everybody's special, no one's special. And actually we lose the majesty, the goods of celebrating wins and differences in a really helpful way, like walking on your own as an adult when you've had some brain surgery and you've lost that ability, like picking up a glass of water and drinking it.
Mm-hmm. It's just something that we need to incorporate. If we're not doing it, then think this week, what can you do? Look back on even this week that you are currently in and think, how can I celebrate? What are the things that I can do? And obviously from a sensory healthy perspective, it will be go and do an activity that feeds your sensory health. And maybe it's something that costs a little bit of money and that you wouldn't be able to do it on a regular basis, like going on a climbing wall or going bungee jumping or whatever your thing is, or going to an art class. Maybe you can't afford it on a regular basis, but what about a one-off? If you're thinking of actually we've really achieved something, or the small wins of where we've come from, looking back, 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, a year, what has changed, what has developed, and just put a little bit of finance, if you can, behind it, and that just makes it even extra special. So you do something that really meets your sensory needs, is a really, really good fit for you, but as more of a treat, as a one-off, because you couldn't afford to do it on a regular basis, and none of us can afford to do everything that we want to do on a regular basis. But it is nice when it just feels that extra bit special if you're able to put a little bit of money behind something. It doesn't need to be a lot, but it's just you acknowledge that you are putting value on yourself and putting value on your achievement, and money is a good thing to be able to do that.
What are some of your favorite wins with some of the people that you've worked with, where you think it's always great when someone gets it or they've got better sensory health, but have you got some favorites along the journey you've had of thinking that was so cool? Because the thing is, I can guarantee with you, it's not going to be all ultra amazing. It's going to be some of the simplest things as well. So what are some of the top wins for you that you've seen?
Yeah, really, really good question. I mean, the first one's actually really, really serious, but the fact that suicide and self-harm is real, and it is the families that have come through that. Those are the absolute biggest wins. It's just like we have held between us, we've held the individuals, we've held the support systems of the family together, we've held marriages together. It's more that serious stuff that you don't celebrate in a, that's just more the serious stuff, and the celebration is literally just words of thanks. It's prayers of thanks, that there is a life still living. And then we go across. Then we go to the other things like, the meltdowns are shorter, or we've actually got communication. Where there's a learning of the regulation. There's the You can tell it in the parents, you can tell it in the individuals who finally got it, that the confidence and the assurance in what they're doing, that's for me a massive win, because that's one of the biggest things. I think that's why it's actually one of the biggest things that I promote. It's about how can I equip and empower people, because there's always going to be issues. There's always going to be something you're going to need to address, whether the person or the child that you're working with is 3, or if they're 16, or if they're 26, if they're in their 40s, if they're in their 80s. There's always going to be something, but for the individual themselves who is supporting that person, or for the individual themselves who is coping with all of those issues, for them just to feel confident that they've actually got some skills around this, that they can do something for good. When so often you're just, am I doing the right thing? You're constantly questioning. You're blaming yourself. There are so many people who blame themselves for other people's behaviors, and it's just like, let's not go there. That's really not helpful. And let's look at the positives, and let's build you up so that you can really support yourself or someone else as best possible.
Life can be hard. It is important to have markers of where we've come from. We have, as a family, we pray for all sorts of things all of the time. We have a book. We only specifically write in answers to prayer, not just general prayers, but if something has been an answer to prayer, we write it in a book. And what shocks me some days, I don't know why I'm still shocked by it, is how many things God wants to answer our prayers. And we keep on writing things in every week, sometimes 2 or 3 things, sometimes 10 things over a week that we prayed for, that we've seen that answer. Some of those things, they might take 2 years, 5 years to come to fruition, and we'll see that answer to prayer. One of them, really simply, don't know why I'm sharing this one specifically, is our boys learning to drive. Someone has gifted them money in order for them to learn to drive, because they don't have income that allows them to do that, and someone's gifted them the money. Joe and I've been praying for that for years, way before they turned 18, thinking, how are we going to ever afford that? Someone answered the prayer. They got in touch. Can we pay for your boys to learn to drive? Yes, you can. It was an amazing gift. We celebrated a lot with that one. It is important to not just celebrate the wins, but write them down. We have from one year when it was one of the hardest years of our life, just so many life problems all thrown at themselves at us so fast you can't quite catch your breath before the next 2 have already landed. And we started writing down every month over 12 months. We wrote 24 things down that were miracles or answers to prayer, because it was a really tough year. That's still on the wall in my lounge from, I don't know, 8 years ago, because it's a reminder that, life is hard. Life is difficult. If you're working with sensory healthy people who are not sensory healthy yet, then actually there are going to be difficulties and challenges. But for us, it was writing down those accomplishments. For us, someone gave us a free car. Our car died. We had no job, lost our job, no money, no car, needed a car to get to jobs, interviews. Someone gifted us a car. That's one of the miracles across the year. That was our second free car going back 6-7 years ago. We wrote it down because it matters, because you're going to forget. And as amazing as that accomplishment was with that particular, we had another car given to us when we were, about 15 years ago. I don't ever forget that one, but it sometimes falls out of my mind with problems coming along. So it's good to have a reminder. Certificates are good. They're not just, I've got a certificate. What am I going to do with that? Well, what you're going to do with that is remind yourself that you worked hard to have something given to you in pieces of paper. You accomplished something.
I tell you, I have just literally, not that you knew about this, an hour ago, I've been working on a master's degree for a long time. And I submitted my form and I paid my graduation fees literally an hour ago. And I thought it was a moment of reflection, thinking, my goodness me, that was an awful lot of work, but it was an awful lot of work over an awful long time. And I haven't had time. There's a lot going on in life at the minute. I haven't had time to actually process that. But I'm hoping that at the weekend I will stop. I won't just go to the sauna, which is my go-to. But it's just I'm just going to pause. I'm going to pause life to be able to just, for me, it'll probably involve just sitting with a drink. And if the weather is good, I shall be outside and it will be quiet, but I will hear the birds, and I'll have my coffee. I'm not quite sure if I'll have a hot chocolate or anything else. I don't know. My drink of choice will come along the way, but just to sit and stop. And my phones will be inside. I will be out somewhere. I might be on the beach. That would be a good thing too. Might go for a beach. I might take a flask. Oh, here it's all coming out now, isn't it? It's like as we process, I can just see. Oh, and I might as well take a picnic while I'm at it. it's, but yeah, it's so important that we just stop sometimes and yeah, and do those things. But I really like your idea of doing the answers to prayer book. I started a prayer book, but it was quite hard to find when the answers came what it related to.
It's
And
hard work.
I had column, yeah, it's just like, oh no, that's not working. So I kind of left that, but I really like that idea of actually writing it in and reflecting and just having the answers. We all know we pray for lots of different things, but actually when an answer comes, that's what you capture. That's great.
We have started writing down prayers and answers to prayers so many times, and they never get finished very far. Just writing down this is an answer to prayer. And the thing is, this is so important. I'm glad you're just thinking about marking what you've just done. But the thing is, for us, it's so easy to forget the answers to prayer, and we can go on a week and think, we've not filled out the book. What were the answers to prayer? Because so much of life has come in and it shouts away the good, because the bad always likes to shout louder. It can't win. That's why it shouts. But the thing is, you need to write these things down. And if you've done that, I mean, that's why we have Thankful Thursday on a Friday on my show. What are you thankful for? Do you know, I took my glass to a tap and I turned it on and I had drinkable water. It's something you can be thankful for. It matters. So yeah, definitely process it. I'm there. I'm planning it for you. So hot chocolate on the beach with French stick and some brie and some ham, maybe a bit of beef. You know, that would be really good. My brain goes straight there. Perhaps some like little Battenberg cakes. That would be my go-to. I'd be happy. I'd be away.
Maybe we'll chat. Maybe we should. What are we going to do for our 100th? We can't really like go online and chat and eat at the same time. But it's
interesting. But no, we need to mark these things, because sometimes just the very action of completing is, oh, thank goodness that's behind me, right, move on. But if we don't follow the way of the Jewish communities, it's so much better at marking, not everything, marking specific points in life, marking accomplishments and remembering feasts and looking backwards. And it's so important. And we don't do that very well here in the West. And if you've submitted your thing for your MA, then great, you should be marking that, because it's an accomplishment. And if you're not careful, you go on to the next problem or the next thing. And well, that's what I've been doing. I've been working for 4 years. It's finished now. Yeah, but you accomplished it. And if you're not careful, you then forget to actually mark it. The reason I know that Joe and I became an us 31 years ago is it's in a diary on an annual repeating reminder, because otherwise I'm going to forget the day, because lots of life has happened. Children, homes, family, Pure Media family, Pure Radio. That's all happened. And it crowds, even the good stuff can crowd out the great stuff, which is why it's so important to mark it, which is why we don't write down prayers we're praying. We write down answers to prayer, because then you can't get jumbled up and confused. Well,
that's really good. Yeah. I'm going to start actually doing on a Friday night, having folks around our house. It's the sense of, okay, it's only like that's our once a week kind of something. And I think as part of that Friday night of bringing friends together, 1 or 2 or maybe 8. I kind of like having people around the house. And part of that is as we lead into that mealtime together, there is that opportunity to say thanks for the week just gone past. What can we be thankful for in community? And start our weekend, start our Sabbath, start our Friday nights in that lovely social space, but with an attitude of thankfulness, and especially then thankfulness for food. So many things revolve around food. Yes, rightly so.
But food's important. I mean, I love that. I talk about this all the time. The very first miracle that we ever see in the Bible of Jesus involved in a miracle was making some really amazing wine at a massive festival, party, banquet, wedding thing going on, where even that underplays it, because this is a Jewish celebration. So this would have been on for days, not 2 hours in your local little hall. This is huge. And this is the first miracle of Jesus, which just reminds me, it's important to mark those things, and it is important to mark it. And if we don't mark it, we will forget so fast. So on a bad day, we can look through the book and think, no, God's done this. He's answered our prayers. Whether you believe in answers to prayer or not, if you think it's just a magical fairy, that's entirely up to you. But I know that God answers prayers because we write them down. And when you have so many, that just defy logic, they defy reason, they defy rationality, they defy physics, and you think, this is God. So on the bad days, you look at what he's already done, and it puts you in a better place for who you are. But yes, you need to celebrate the wins, and you need to celebrate your accomplishment.
I shall.
It really does. Right, we haven't touched on the usual Century Healthy stuff, but hey, look, it's 100 episodes next week, so it's a big deal. So I just thought, let's talk a little bit about how we mark things. It's important. And I think it really matters. Thank you, Anne. I still enjoy these. It doesn't get old. Not yet. Never.
No.
If you want to, sorry.
Bless you, brother.
Oh, thank you. You too. If you want to connect with Anne, simplest way to do it, go to our website, pure247radio.org, pure247radio.org/ALJ. You can connect with Anne Lord Jackson of Santé on Jersey. Yes, book some slot time, Anne, on the beach.
There you go. I'll put that in my diary just now.
You see, but if you don't put it in your diary, you'll forget. You can schedule spontaneity. That's okay.
I know, because otherwise it's funny when we talk about meal times. I know we're just departing, but it's like there's a family contacting me today. Meal times are such a stress for them, and they're just like, "What can we do?" And it's just like, "Well, sign up today. I'll come and see you this weekend." But who knows? I'll leave that. Well, maybe I'll just go and enjoy myself on the beach first, and then go and see them. So yes, that's the way it goes, isn't it? That life work balance. It's a lovely integration. Actually, it's the life work integration is what we need, not some balance of separation. It's just who we are. Let's just enjoy life and go with it.
Good cadence. I'm not my word. Someone gave me that word for life. I like that one. Right, Anne, thank you.
Thank you.